This is Prep Period, an all-sports podcast by the Ventura County Star and the people at VCS Preps.
Hello and welcome to episode 13, lucky number 13 of Prep Period, the Ventura County Star's All Preps, All Sports podcast. My name is Dominic Massimino. He is Joe Curley. We are sports reporters here at the Star. It's Veterans Day. Thank you for your service to all the vets listening. Lots of vets locally and big sports fans around here, so hope you guys have a restful day. We got another packed episode. I say it every day, but it always is packed. That's why we go so long on these episodes. Joe, how you doing? Other than chasing an insect.
All right. Killing mosquito.
You had a cat. You had a cat on your shoulders 2 episodes ago. Now you're just acting like a cat yourself.
Apparently, I'm the Dr. Doolittle of the journalistic world. I'm doing great. We got 9 of our 15 teams forward into the quarterfinals. That the way we like it. Keep making us work. And let's see if we can make us work all the way into December here.
I love it. So it was a pretty exciting week 11. We got some good games, which is what you hope for in the playoffs. Joe, I think your head's maybe a little bit cut off again. There we go. Perfect.
My bad.
Pretty exciting games. We talked on Friday night in our Twitter Spaces about. I loved the way that you summed up the game that you were at, Oaks Christian St. Bonnie. It was our all local game of the week. Ends in unbelievable fashion. Why don't we start there, Joe, and tell us about kind of just all the ups and downs of that crazy game.
Well, I'll tell you how wild the finish was. It is now Tuesday around noon, and I finally have talked to both head coaches. So it was an absolute mayhem, emotional maelstrom on the field after that game, because it's about as big of a kind of fate switch, I guess, for lack of a better term. St. Bonaventure has an awesome 11-play, 65-yard touchdown drive to take the lead with about 5 minutes left. The freshman Wyatt Barlow makes an unbelievable catch in traffic. Remember that name for the next 3 years, to give them a much-deserved lead. They had done a really good job holding down Rideau and Benjamin and, everything that is, the talent on Oaks Christian. And they had kept Oaks Christian from scoring a touchdown for almost 8 quarters, which no one had ever done locally. I think maybe Sierra Canyon might have done it once, probably not. I know entering this league season, Sierra Canyon was the only team to ever shut out Oaks Christian. So just a monumental job by the Oaks Christian, or by the St. Bonaventure defense. And we talked last week that we like the winner of this game, or certainly I like the winner of this game, to go very far. Mm-hmm. St. Bonaventure had been to the CIF finals the previous 2 years. They had a senior class that was a really big part of that. And all of that just kind of ends in an instant where Oaks Christian throws an incomplete pass on 4th and long. So for a moment, St. Bonaventure is celebrating the win. The flag comes out, and the defensive holding call prolongs the Oaks Christian drive, pushes it to the 18-yard line. There's 2 minutes left, and you're thinking there's how Oaks Christian couldn't drive the ball all day. They couldn't score touchdowns when Devon Benjamin returned the ball to the 20 and the 10 on punts earlier in the year. How are they going to go 82 yards in 2 minutes? And yet, if there was a coach that was there that texted me immediately after the play, which was an 82-yard tipped ball to the behind. All of a sudden, Christian Butler is behind the Oaks Christian, or behind the St. Bonaventure defense, and just running all alone, sprinting to give Oaks Christian the win. And somebody texts me, "Immaculate reception?" ? Which is a big deal in my family, because I had a family member on the field during the Immaculate reception. But and I think I had family members at the game, maybe. But anyway, long story short, I'm like, probably less likely than the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah.
But I think it's sometimes when, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because I think it's hard. I mean, Oaks maybe deserves some luck. They had a touchdown run earlier in the game called back with a downfield hold that I know that Coach Collins didn't think should have been called.
Mm.
I know St. Bonaventure doesn't think the defensive holding that kept the game going should have been called. So I think there's both sides have a gripe. And when you've got such a thin margin in a game, you're exhilarated for the Oaks Christian kids that go on and all of a sudden have a really good chance to play in December. And I went and I talked to Matt Perez and some of the St. Bonaventure kids that we've covered for years, because it's such a quick goodbye, and you feel they
It's
obviously
sudden. Yeah.
You lose you think you're going to be playing another month, and all of a sudden it's done. And that's high school football. It's part of the allure and the why these playoff games are so special, because it all can change in one moment, and it's part of the reason why there's such emotion involved. And so I felt felt really happy for one side and really sad for the other side. And that's the way you get it when we have to cover these games when we have two of our teams playing each other in the playoffs, and we're going to have to deal with it this week, and we might have to deal with it next week. And, depending on what happens in Division 12, we might even have it in the final. So we will see. But all in all, just a really unforgettable moment, unforgettable game. And that's what happens when St. Bonaventure and Oaks Christian play each other. It's been happening for the last 15 or so years, and will continue to happen going forward in the Vermont League.
Yeah. Seeing the final score of that game, it's like just the same story again, just two teams like bludgeoning each other. And yeah.
Two
Crazy.
awesome defenses. And the rest of that division does not know what's on its way, with that Oaks Christian defense, and what would have happened that St. Bonaventure defense. You let them loose in that Division 4. And I do have to say, I didn't last week. I should have talked about more about the system. We're talking about the playoffs, and I kicked myself when we got off that I wasn't a little more critical about the system. I have to say on the record that it is an absolute abomination that two league teams are playing each other. Two teams that were in a coin flip to determine whether or not they got an automatic berth out of the same league. Two teams that had played each other 3 weeks previous are playing in the first round of the playoffs against each other.
Yeah.
It absolutely should never happen. It's totally unfair. There's no point to the league season if you're just going to play them in the first round. Just flip a matchup. All the calculations in this system are fine margins. Just flip a matchup. I don't care if it's the 4-5. I don't care if it's the 15-13, whatever. Flip a matchup, and let's see how far the Vermont League can go in Division 4. Absolutely ridiculous that CIF doesn't fix it. It makes no sense. It honestly undermines the integrity of the entire playoff format when you do something like that. And I could give you 5 different things, 10 different things, maybe for a future pod on how little things they don't fix undermine the integrity of the postseason at large. You cannot have two league teams play each other in the first round of the playoffs. You were never allowed to do that earlier under the previous system. So chalk up one to the previous system, why the previous system is better than this system. They didn't have league teams playing the first round against each other. So anyway, sorry for the rant, but I was disappointed with myself for not bringing this up last week.
Cheers to the first great clip that I will be pulling from this podcast to social, because that's beautiful. Yeah, man. Of all the things, that's pretty tough. And you hear that from local teams playing, in the second round. Like, come on, like make it happen in the finals.
It's kind of part. I mean, okay, so back in the old days, you didn't want it to happen in the quarterfinals, but you understood because there's only 4 or 5 leagues in each division. You seeded away from it. You didn't want it. Sometimes it happened. It didn't happen very often. But in this system, Moorpark and Ventura probably shouldn't be in the same quadrant either when you finish first and second. Yeah. I understand if you finish first and fourth. 2 teams that play for a championship of league 2 years in a row. And I know it's a lot of work, but it's an important thing to get it right. And, I'm less perturbed about, because it's such an easy fix.
Yeah.
Just flip one matchup. When it's so, whether a team is 13 versus 14 does not matter so much in this system. We are fine margins, one little iota, one team that's on your schedule that is on another team's schedule, one loss. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on before I take up all our time.
Well, I will talk about the game I covered. It was my fifth time at third. One. It was. I had been at Larrabee a lot of times this season. I've been covering Ventura, including not at Larrabee, even more times this season. Gotten pretty familiar with that team.
It's time for you to have an office at Larrabee Stadium at some point.
Set it up, guys. Come on. And I got back out for Ventura's D6 opener against Salesian. Was a tough test for them. Game started off with a bang. Jack Cunningham makes his impact known on this game. Takes the opening kickoff 98 yards for a score. But it's funny that ended up being. We've talked so much about this. The senior group that has been starting for 3 years, 4 years for Tristan Phillips, and how much they have kind of done for this Ventura program, and how important this playoff run was going to be as seniors, trying to get out of the first round for the first time, because they've been knocked out in the first round the last 2 years, haven't won a playoff game in 4, and so that was weighing on these guys going in. And it ends up being a lot of the new faces that help kind of propel Ventura to this 42-31 win over Salesian Friday night. You get James Watson, who carries the ball 15 times for 144 yards. He was a new face for me. I'm standing there on the sidelines like, is that what is that number? Do I recognize this kid?
Was it 28? What's he wearing now?
No, I think he's 14. I think he's 14.
Okay. He had some moments with amateur last year as a freshman, so that's not an insignificant ad for Ventura.
I'm there asking guys on the sideline like, who's 14? Who is this guy? And he was great. 15 carries, 144 yards, and then another St. Bonaventure transfer who we're a little more familiar with because he's been playing a little bit longer is Walker Bullard, who had a 65-yard catch and run touchdown in this one. So both of those guys, big impact. Tristan Savage, who's we know that name from this season, kind of how they've used him in the the heavy run game and that kind of thing. He has 3 touchdowns in this one, not a lot of yardage, but he punches 2 in, on the goal line and gets a receiving touchdown. So it ends up kind of flipping the the storyline on its head of these seniors who've contributed for so long to kind of the development of these young guys throughout the year, that's helped kind of get them to where they are now, with weapons all over the field, not just the Tristan Phillips, the Jack Cunninghams, the Derek Garcias. So pretty cool. There's a moment in this game where a Salesian player goes down, and a lot of noise from kind of both stands about this. The Ventura players don't take a knee. The Salesian sideline starts shouting at them. The Ventura sideline starts shouting at the Ventura players and Coach Garcia to take a knee. Talked to him about it after the game. He said, he's out there talking to the kid immediately after the injury, who he ends up being taken off in an ambulance. But he's out there talking to the kid. And he says, I have to worry about the safety of my players. I don't want them getting cold. I also don't want them losing their mojo. He was pretty honest about that. He said, it's not just, I'm not going to hide behind just the injury, the worrying about the player safety thing for my own guys. Like, I don't want them to get taken out of the moment and lose their mojo. And they end up scoring on the very next play after the injured player is taken off the field. It's a different Salesian team. We talked about that, Joe. After that injury happens, it seems like Salesian lost their mojo a little bit, losing a player in kind of a tough way. And Ventura goes on to kind of explode in that second half and turns a close game into a 2-score win. So pretty exciting game, and it sets up a very exciting league championship rematch from the point of view of Moorpark and Ventura in the second round.
I mean, I'll say there's something about Ventura right now for a team that, started the season so limply And now, you're on that sideline. I mean, now they're like rabid. I mean, they are peaking at the right time. They are, it really seems like they're focused on what they're doing. And, I mean, absolutely no regard for the opposition and just single-minded focus on, okay, we got a half an hour break. The moment we get out there, we're going to turn this game around. And they did it. And it's impressive. They did it. We saw it after the Moorpark game last year with the lights being out. They took over after the lights went out. We saw it in the Buena game last year when
Blanks went down.
The running back for Buena goes down, and all of a sudden Ventura takes over. I mean, there's something about, there's just right now. I mean, if that Ventura team has a single-minded focus, and the only thing that matters for them is to win these next 3 games. So they're going to be a tough out, and what they've done the last month and a half has been super impressive. And I picked Silesia to win that game because that quarterback looked phenomenal, and they, for the first half of the game, he was winning, and the second half of the game they got after him, and that front seven, punished him, and Ventura flipped that game. So, credit to them. And now we'll see. Now they have to do what St. Bonaventure couldn't do this week, is beat a team twice in 1 year. I asked Coach Garcia about playing Ventura again, and he goes, 1 week at a time. I mean, playing Moorpark again. Yeah. And he wanted nothing. There was no complaints that they were playing. Now they have to beat a team twice in a year. They're just, there's a single-minded focus this year with this Ventura seniors about finishing. And it's, that's the way you have to do it this year in order to go super far. So we'll see. There's some momentum right now. And then also there's, Moorpark is, that's Moorpark coming off, they get that win against King, where we talked about last week, they had 2 great seasons, 9-1, 8-2, and don't have a playoff win to speak of. So it's very important for them to finish strong and do what they did. Now, maybe they have some momentum going into this game, and now they have everything to play for, because not only are they trying to extend their season, they're trying to answer the team that's beaten them the last 2 seasons. So, I mean, it's just an absolutely fun matchup. One of the games of the year in Ventura County. I'm jealous that you get to cover it. And
we're going to talk.
We're going
to talk a little bit more about that one, because it's the same way we did with Bonnie and Oaks last week. That's our local matchup next week. So we have a extra special guest coming on in approximately 15 minutes to talk a little bit about it.
We'll give Kate Hunter credit for the punch out in that key moment of the game in the third quarter, where King's about to score and go ahead again, and he punches the ball on the goal line for a turnover. That Davis Benson recovers the ball, and then I think he caught the touchdown that tied the game, or that pulled them even, 28-28. And then Jack kicks the decisive field goal with a couple minutes left, and the Musketeers have their first playoff win since the pandemic. 4 years, I think.
Yeah, Coach Dearborn said he had never seen anything like it. It was I haven't seen the clip yet, but it was described in detail to me. Just a wide open, lane to the end zone. Kate Hunter, comes around and punches the ball out and recovered on the 1 yard line. They marched 99 yards to score there late in the game. Yeah. So pretty crazy. Maybe
similar to the Pacifica play against St. Bonaventure earlier this year, or maybe similar to the Newbury Park play in the CIF championship game last year, Division II. So, yeah, we'll check that out. Wyatt Davidson, 178 yards and a touchdown and 28 carries. He continues his fantastic second half of the season after returning from a knee injury.
And then couple more magical moments. Luke Zapko, who we were talking about last week, he comes up huge at the end of Oak Park's first round win over Village Christian. He blocks a field goal that would have likely won the game for Village Christian. They get the 17-15 win. Oak Park led 14-0 early on in this one in the first half, and had to kind of hang on there. Kind of a gutsy win for Coach Webb's Eagles there. And then we got the Deuce out, the legendary Deuce, for his first game of the season. and he covers Pacifica's win over Big Bad Oaks Hills. They get the 42-31 win. Is that the same score as it's 42-31 Ventura Salesian too. Interesting. And the storyline that Derry talked about in that game was Dylan Stewart coming up big for Pacifica. Oh yes, coming up big for Pacifica to replace Elijah Royster, or to fill in as best he could, and he did a fantastic job, filling in for that production, and they did a great job. It was very cool watching or reading that story from Derry, just a
like riding a bike, baby.
Seriously, man, it's like
so good.
A master stroke of lead writing. I'm like, dude, I'd have to stay up until 6 a.m. just banging my head against the wall to come up with that lead. He probably did it in 2 seconds.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you get 50 years of experience. It comes to you. You'll get there. So Taylor Lee, 280 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. The absolute monster game from Jacobs Jr., 5 catches, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. The big deal is that, Oak Hills is one of the biggest, baddest, toughest programs in Southern California. And Pacifica putting up 42 points. This is a team that has had battles with Oaks Christian and St. Bonaventure in the playoffs in recent years. They've eliminated St. Bonaventure. Oaks got them last year on their way to the D2 semis. This is a team that's normally in D2. For Pacifica to have to face them in the first round of D3, it's a tough matchup, and they were phenomenal. So I think that gives the Tritons real confidence that, they can win some more games in D3 and maybe make a run at this thing.
And then got to mention Agora with the surprisingly dominant performance in the win over Summit, taking down a little bit of a giant there. They'll have another giant that they have to slay this coming week against Orange Vista. We'll talk about that in the future. But yeah, the third of 3 local teams in that D6 bracket to win their first round. So it's an exciting storyline in D6.
I think the Chargers surprised their own staff a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they won, but that they dominated a bigger, stronger opponent. Obviously, I think we said last week, give me, if I'm going to the playoffs, give me Gavin Gray, give me the better quarterback. He was 24. This is his playoff debut, I believe. 24 of 28, 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. You have an absolutely unbelievable game from George Hastings, who had 4 touchdowns 3 different ways, right? 2 different ways.
He had 3 receiving touchdowns and a scoop and score for the first score of the game.
And that kind of, there's a little bit of some momentum there where Agur takes the lead and they just go.
Yeah, looking back.
And so, you give Gavin Gray a lead and, protect that thing, they got a shot. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but the Orange Vista matchup is not fun. It's a team that's played a lot of our teams in the playoffs the last couple of years. But, again, you got the quarterback, got a shot.
Definitely. And then real quick, just to mention, Santa Paula bounces back big after their rivalry game loss to Fillmore. They get the 27-7 win over Ocean View, led by all 3 of the Alcantar brothers. Sebastian.
The whole family.
Everybody gets in on the action. Sebastian Alcantar has 3 rushing TDs to lead the Cardinals. I believe
Xavier caught a touchdown
Xavier
pass.
had a touchdown pass, and
Dominic had an interception. So what happened was, it was no score late second quarter. Sebastian broke through with his first touchdown run on like a 3rd and goal, or I think it was 3rd and 2 at the 6, something like that. He scores, and then Dominic, the younger one, the sophomore, gets the interception, sets them up again, and Sebastian scores again right before the end of the half. So it goes from potentially 0-0 at the half to 13-0. And from there, Santa Paula kind of just, they went up 27-0, controlled it. There was late touchdown they gave up, but, they have to be feeling good about their, after poor Santa Paula was beat up all year. They lose their quarterback for a long time. They lose some offensive linemen. They go from 4-1 to 5-5, barely get in the playoffs as an at-large, luckily kind of get in the playoffs as an at-large. Now all of a sudden, they're healthy. Quarterback's back, the linemen are back. You got to like the way everything's kind of lining up for Santa Paula, who we won't spoil it yet, but potentially, a win or two away from some historic stuff that we need to do some work to confirm.
Yeah, and hey, if these two D12 teams keep winning, we might have to grind some film from that early season game between the two of them, because
That's a heck of a game.
It was a heck of a game. Let's real quick go through. We do have time. I just texted our guests to give us 5 more minutes, so we have time to talk about all the stuff that's happened in the world of fall sports playoffs. You and I have both been covering a lot of games that are not on the football field, or not on the tackle football field, I should say. Why don't you tell us?
We got to do stat of the week first.
Oh, we do. Oh my gosh, yeah, we should have
put it in there.
Yeah, we should have talked about this when we were talking Pacifica. Why don't you take this one?
By covering Pacifica Oaks Hills on Friday, Derry Eads, the former prep and sports editor of the Star, extended his streak of covering football to 58 seasons. So, and that is why the Deuce knows, because the Deuce has been there, and that's why he can write such. I mean, go and read the story. It's really a well done gamer, and
we get a text from John saying, we get a text from John saying, yeah, like do you guys feel some type of way about the fact that Derry just like jumps back on the football beat and files his gamer like 6 hours before either of you do?
Way before you guys.
It's like, no, dude, it's Derry. Come on, man. We can't compete with that.
Dude, Lauren was even faster. Oh my God, Lauren was so fast. Lauren would file the gamers from the bench before he even left the field. So good. He'd have it written at halftime.
Crazy. Second period. Yeah, well, so why don't you start? We have a few things that both of us have covered, but most recently was the Westlake flag football team playing in the D2 championship game.
Yeah, historic. Shout out to the Westlake High flag football team. Becomes the first local team to play for a CIF championship, reach a CIF final in the sport of flag football, which is only 3 years old at the CIF level. Corona Del Mar eliminates, in order, Agoura, Newbury Park, Ventura, Newbury Park, and then in the final, Westlake. So we had a lot of great success against Orange County opposition, but one Orange County team essentially took us out. All
Corona
our
Del
teams,
Mar, the Saugus of flag football.
That's 26-14, and they did it in the same way. All 4 of those games, they jump ahead and hang on. Kudos to them. Westlake has a freshman quarterback, Annabelle O'Keefe, sophomore superstar in Livia Square, and Summer Davis, who's the younger sister of Charles Davis and Niles Davis on the tackle football team. She's a freshman, so that they're gonna, they'll be back. They've got a lot of talent returning, so it's just the beginning for Westlake High flag football.
And kind of a similar story in volleyball. What was that? Was that Thursday night?
Division 4 Thursday night.
Yeah. In the D4 championship game, Ventura goes down 2 sets early to visiting La Cañada, and it looks like it's going to be a quick sweep, and that's going to be the end of it for Ventura. They rally back. They almost secure the reverse sweep against La Cañada, so they win the 3rd and the 4th sets, force a 5th set tiebreaker. Bob Tuttle Jim was ready to explode.
Yeah.
And just can't keep the rhythm going in that 5th set tiebreaker. They go up 4-0, and it's like, okay, this is it. They've won it. And then I think the La Cañada scores like 9 points to Ventura's 1 to just like retake the momentum, and they win that one. A tough way to go, but like very, very impressive match, and kind of staying strong against that opposition. Gigi Scaglia, senior outside hitter, had 13 kills, 14 digs to kind of lead the way for Ventura. She played excellent in that third and 4th set to keep them in it. Unfortunately for Ventura, they're rewarded for their efforts with being the number 13 seed in the D2 bracket of state, which is they're going to be the highest seeded local team. Oak Park, who they defeated in the semifinals, is the last seed, the 16 seed in D2. So they're both on the road. Ventura's at number 4 Foothill, and Oak Park's at top seeded Liberty. And then Royal gets the 8 seed in D3. They're going to play at Garces Memorial, and Foothill Tech is the number 7 seed in the D5 bracket, hosting South El Monte, which I believe is the team that knocked CI football out of the playoffs just now. So yeah, Foothill Tech will be our lone home team in the first round. But yeah, crazy volleyball season. It's very, very fun covering it. So looking forward to hopefully seeing some state wins for
make a run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
you want to do some cross? Coach?
Yeah, real quick, some cross country action all over the place. Those league championships, like league championship meets, crept up real fast, and it all happened at the same time. I was out there at the Coastal Canyon League Championships, where Oak Park swept the team titles for the second year in a row, led by Kathleen Lamb on the girls' side and Keen Castaneda on the boys' side. Just the same old thing with Oak Park, just awesome team running. They both those teams look poised for big runs at the CIF prelims coming up this week and the CIF finals next weekend. And then at the Marmoni League Championships, the Westlake girls go 1-2-3 to lead their team to the team title win. Anais Cruz first place, twin sister Sabina Cruz second place, and senior Rachel Ray Castagna with the big run in third. That team is looking harder and harder to beat every week. And then Agora's Dorian Benning is second place in a school record time of 14:59, just behind Oaks Christian's Arize Nwosu, who wins in 14:58. So sounds like that was a kick to the finish line there. Agora wins the boys team title at home. In the Channel League, Ayla Curtis just continues to, it's like every week, it's a course record. Wherever she runs, it's going to be a course record. Runs 16:52, breaks the existing course record by 32 seconds. Ventura wins on the girls' side, the team title. And then the guy that we had number 1 in our preseason rankings, who'd been a little bit quiet this season, pops off. Rio Mesa's Derek Luna has the second fastest time in course history, runs 14:39 up in Goleta, and Rio Mesa is second place as a team behind Luna, finishing just behind Dos Pueblos. So welcome back to the top echelon of cross country running in Ventura County, Derek Luna. Keep an eye on him. Channel Islands Uriel Texas leads CI's boys team to a win in the Citrus Coast League. And then Foothill Tech, just like Oak Park does in the Coastal Canyon League, Foothill Tech sweeps the boys and girls titles. Kira Wallace wins on the girls' side in 18:58, and Noah Wagner is second in the boys' race, leading the team to a boys' title, a team win in 15:55. Foothill Tech boys, it looks like, rested their guys, so pretty impressive for the 8 through 13 guys to win that team title.
Wow,
for Foothill Tech.
Deep.
Yeah, that's the story.
Before we get back to football, let me quickly run through what's happening in college football locally. Ventura College was a play away from finishing 10-0 and having a bye in the first round of the Southern California Regional playoffs. They lose an absolute maddening game with the defending Southern California champions, Mount Sac, 55-54 at home on Saturday. They were up 37-14 in the second quarter, ended up losing that game 55-54 after Mount Sac drove the length of the field with 6 minutes left, scored with 16 seconds left, and then went for 2 and got it. Steve Mushagian called it heartbreaking. All it really does is cost VC a share. Cost its unbeaten season, the first round bye, and a share of the title. They still share the SCFA North with them, with Mount Sac. VC is seated 4th in the playoffs. They will host Cerritos, which is Coach Mushagian's alma mater. So the Cerritos games are always fun with Coach Moose.
Oh, that's cool.
In the quarterfinals on November 22nd, winner of that game gets top-seeded Golden West. Moorpark College beat Long Beach College 30-13, which was significant because that's their 5th straight win. They finished 3rd in the FCFA North, and they clinch a bowl berth. They're going to go to Southwestern in the SCFA Patriotic Bowl in 2 weeks. Both of these community college games are November 22nd. So everybody gets a bye or gets a week off, and then the postseason starts. And then there is one local college football game this weekend, Cal Lutheran, which dropped their last regular season game 28-18 to Pomona Pitzer Colleges. John edited from Pomona Pitzer Colleges to college. So I
Interesting.
mean, what like? I gotta go back.
Gotta
and check that.
trust the alum.
Trust the alum, for crying out loud. 28-18. But they still win. We're talking about Kalu football right now, so up your alley there. The Kingsmen are going to visit Chapman on Saturday for the SCIAC Championship. That is I don't know if you call them Sun Jam. They call them pods, the little divisions. So the team out of the Sun Division and the team out of the Surf Division will play in Orange on Saturday. CLU trying to bounce back from that loss last week against Pomona Pitzer. And this has been your local college football moment.
From the Joe Curley. And our special guest is here, Coach Christian Dearborn, first season at the helm of the Moorpark football program, and the Musketeers are rolling. Thank you for joining us, Coach. How's the drive going? I know you're going up to SoFi now.
No, it's going good. And that's funny, fun fact on Kalu, their defensive coordinator, Casey Blum, he's coming to talk to our players Wednesday night. We've been bringing in alumni every week, and he's actually coming to talk to our boys on Wednesday night. So, best of Coach Blum this week and the Kingsmen as they go take on the SCIAC Championship.
He's also an alum, right?
Yeah, he is.
Defensive lineman for Moorpark. I don't know. Late aughts? When did Casey play for the Musketeers?
Yeah, probably 05-06 Casey Blum, right? No, 07-08. 07-08.
Nice. So, I mean, before we talk about the Titanic matchup you guys got coming up in the quarterfinals this upcoming week, it's your first season at the helm there. You guys, have had a fantastic first season. What's it been like for you just, taking over there and having so much success in your first year?
It's been, I'd probably say the word emotional because, I think about like the walking down the ramp the first time with our team, not being a player walking down that ramp. Traditionally it's been Hell's Bells for the last 20 years at Moorpark. We went back to Thunderstruck, which was the last time we played. That was our 97 team that actually won a CIF title. That was Coach Wilford had that. So we brought back a little nostalgia there, but it's been special being back at a place where you played football. And, like I've said before, we have 9 alumni on staff, so it's not just, really important for me. It's really important for a lot of our guys on staff. This is their home. They raise their families here. I mean, I'm driving to a youth football game because 2 of our coaches, their sons are playing in a Super Bowl for youth football. So, that's what Moorpark's all about. And that's what's just made it that much more special this year.
I love it. And one of the things you mentioned, I think our first interview after that win over Rio Mesa this season, when I asked you about taking over, was how much experience you had kind of gained, developing players and building a program kind of from the ground up at some of your previous stops as a coach. And we've seen this year a few players kind of, pop that, we didn't necessarily know about going in or weren't as much on our radar. Davis Benson, Cade Hunter, 2 guys who have, just been phenomenal this year. How is that kind of player development, happened at Moorpark this year? And, what do you guys do to kind of build up those athletes into the stars that we've seen?
Yeah, that's a twofold thing. So number one is what Coach Lins does with our strength and conditioning program. For anytime I've been around Moorpark, no one can figure it out. How is this town of 30,000 people, playing in 5 CIF championships in the early 2000s, continuing to have success when, the city hasn't grown in the last 10 years. It's a small 1,600, student public school. How are they successful? But, player development right there, so half of that is what we do in the weight room. We're a year-round lifting program. Not a lot of schools have that. Their sport ends, they check into their other sport. At Moorpark, they lift year-round, so that's a huge thing. And it's a kudos to what our position coaches do, because if you look at our box, we've been talking about this all week with our coaching staff. Our 2 nose guards are both 5'8", 200 pounds. Our 2 middle linebackers are 5'8" and 5'5", 185 pounds. And we're going to go up against, last week MLK, this big public school out of Riverside, Ventura. They got guys like Jordan Butcher, Tristan Phillips, their nose guard. There's just these monster guys, but we've been able to play with these teams. And, that's, like I said, it has to do with what we do in the weight room. And then also, what our position coaches are able to do, throughout a long season.
For sure. And so, we got to ask about this upcoming matchup. I mean, we talked just a little bit about it over the weekend when we talked about your previous game, your win over King. But what's the energy like, in the locker room with those kids, knowing that you have another crack at Ventura after an exciting game earlier this season, and the history these two programs have?
They're fired up, but it's more. I mean, absolutely. Getting a second chance against Ventura has added fuel to that fire. But man, playing in a quarterfinal, this morning I posted, like anytime you're playing on veteran, you get to practice on Veterans Day. It's special, so the energy was there. We got the music going in our stadium, so the kids are amped. And not only the kids and the coaches as well. At Moorpark, everyone, 10-1 and still nobody's satisfied. So that has just brought that energy this week, and they realized, especially the senior group, we got 28 seniors on a tiny roster, which means like the majority of our rosters seniors. They realize that it's win or go home. So if you don't come with energy, your season's going to end. So I've been proud of the way both our players and coaches have been fired up this week.
Definitely. And we've been kind of looking at this game and seeing how these two teams match up now compared to how you did in league a few weeks ago. And we talked about James Watson, new running back for Ventura, who's kind of made waves in that Salesian game. But then on your side of things, you have a running back in Wyatt Davidson who went off in the previous round, had just come back from injury the last time you guys played Ventura. So sort of a little storyline there with the addition sort of two running backs on either side. Just how do you feel like you guys match up a few weeks after that the previous time you played this team?
Yeah, no, we feel really good about where we're at. Expect Wyatt Davidson. That's a huge part of it. Even offensive line wise, that week we had some struggled with guys missing practice with sicknesses. Not your normal flu. Like we talked about a guy like Angel Castaneda who was in the hospital that week. So we really feel like we're at with the guys that we have at this point. That they're at full strength. The guys that are suiting up. And with Wyatt Davidson, getting his legs under him now, because, even he was cleared to come back for that Ventura game, but, you that's your first game back after you haven't played in 6 weeks. That's tough. And, he handled business against Buena. He did the same the year before. So we expected that. But the way he ran the ball on Friday night, against a very good team like MLK, kind of shows you what he has to offer.
For sure. Joe, you got any questions for Coach?
I'm deep into the research here. I'm just realizing, here, Christian, here's a trivia question. What was the first year Ventura and Moorpark played a football game? Actually surprised me. So if I stump you, don't take it personally.
I'm gonna go in the 80s.
Ready for this, Dom? You want to give it to me, Dom?
Dude, I have no idea. Did you put it in the
Deuce would know this. I'm sure this was researched via old yearbooks at the Moorpark High School Library or something. 1924, first year of high school football in Ventura County. So, yeah, I mean, when you're talking Ventura and Moorpark, those are two programs that have been around the whole time that football has existed. And back then, I think if you had a team, you played each other. So they played in 24 and 25 and then went their separate ways. But I'm also looking up, this is the third playoff game between the two teams. So just
I was in college watching Coach Lynn's. I think it was Coach Lynn's final season was in 2016, the last time they played each other. I was in college watching the live stream of that game of Coach Lynn's final playoff game.
So wow. So that's Coach Lynn's last game as Moorpark coach. That's a little piece of history. And then previously the 05 team that played St. Bonaventure in the Division 4 final beat Ventura in the semifinal 14-13. So there's your three. There's a little bit of history. I was letting, as Dom was interviewing you, I was doing some quick research. But, obviously, when we've talked about your team, we've talked about just how solid it is in all three phases. I asked you this question a couple of days ago when we talked just about, how important special teams has been for you guys. And then obviously, I'm sure, the one, special teams, one moment, one breakdown obviously goes a long way. It's probably the one breakdown of the whole season for you guys, special teams wise, was the play that turned that first Ventura game. So, just a word for just how well you guys have played in all three phases, and then how is it such a big deal that you guys could, you had talked about having another crack at them, but just how solid you guys are in three phases.
Yeah, and that comes to, I remember when I got my first coaching job, my dad, our current AD, going like, you're gonna learn stuff from each coaching staff you go on. And I feel like, playing college ball for a head coach that was a special teams guy, and then obviously being under a guy like Coach Linz, who always, executed all three phases at Moorpark High School. I just grew up around football where all three phases were important. I wasn't on a Mike Leach team, worried about scoring 50 and not playing defense. I've been around, what our product is out on the field. That's what my dad did in the 90s. That's what Linz and Wilford did during the 2000s. So that's the type of football I've been around. So it's just like, I know some people don't put an emphasis on it. And I told you as well, when you're rocking with 35 guys, when down in playoffs, we have the JV pull-ups, but, that we have our best dudes on those, and that helps, and that goes a long way. Now, obviously, there's some downfalls, more tired, things like that. But when you, like, I think you even put it in your note, is when Garrett Gray's running down the field on kickoff, good things are probably going to happen. So, that has really led to a lot of success on our special teams this year, is just the type of personnel that we have out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's super important because, every little – I remember covering a game last year where TO was real close to a big upset against Simi, and every time they kicked off, Simi got 50, 60, 70 yards, and they were on a short field. And, every single team matters. Every single coverage, every single return, every single block, makes all the difference when you're trying to advance. I mean, look at Oak Park last week where they block a game-winning field goal. And they're playing this week because of their field goal block team.
Yep.
So, anyway, but yeah, fantastic job this year. Really looking forward to, anytime any two of our teams play in the playoffs. So, we're really excited about Friday night. Hope we get a really big crowd out there at Larrabee.
Yeah, it looks like the update is like maybe 90% chance of rain, maybe a half inch. So it could be. I was just talking with Coach Davey ahead of the game, and then I was dropping off my daughter at my parents'. And the last game they remember rain game was Moorpark playing against Carp when they beat Carp. So when you get those rain games, they're pretty nostalgic, and those are games people don't forget.
And so I'm sure you're gonna be working with a wet ball this week in practice, getting ready for that. And the other thing is, at least it's. I mean, I'm an older generation. I remember playing on grass. I miss grass. The one time I am thankful for the new turf is that it's not as big of a deal when you have these weather games. I mean, I remember there are all kinds of games going up in the Central Coast when it would rain in the playoffs, and our teams not being able to field snaps, not being able to throw the ball when you're playing in the muck, playing in the mud. It's a different game when you're playing on the turf in the rain. So hopefully it's not that big of a change, but we'll see. I'm hoping it rains on Friday, but from 7 to 9:30, I hope Dom's able to write in his notepad.
Yeah, I'm putting some plastic bags on my camera going into this week for sure.
That's the key. Got to have the plastic bags, or we'll stick you in a press box for the first time.
Maybe. That'd be weird.
Awesome.
Thank you, Coach Dearborn. You're the best, man. Appreciate you for coming out and talking to us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Good
you
luck
guys.
to the youth Super Bowl dudes. Bring it home.
I'll pass it along. See ya.
All right,
See ya.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Another great guest. Thanks to Coach Dearborn for coming out and talking. And that's the first it's the first car interview we've done. Worked pretty well. Props to
At least he wasn't driving.
Yeah, props to the Microsoft Teams internet
It
tracking,
worked.
whatever.
Shocker.
So we got
But yeah, how about that? 1924, Ventura 14, Moorpark nothing. 1925, Moorpark 12, Ventura nothing. Then a whole bunch. They went from 1935 to 1999 not playing each other. So that's 64 years without playing each other. And they played a lot the last 25 years.
The year Marlon
So,
Brando was born, 1924.
right. Here we go.
Everybody knows that.
The year high school football was born in Ventura County. So, yeah, big time. But yeah, this is that'll be a good one. Anything else about that we need to say about that game? Let me go back to the rundown.
I mean, I think to me, the most interesting storyline is what Coach Dearborn mentioned there. That running back position for both sides. I mean, Ventura finds its starter in James Watson. He's going to get the bulk of the carries when they're not running that heavy package with Tristan Savage. When they need to go for it on fourth or need to punch it in on the goal line. So we'll probably see a lot of him. I'm sure Coach Dearborn's going to be looking at kind of how to slow down Watson. And on the flip side of things, yeah, like Wyatt Davidson has just come on so strong for Moorpark since returning from that MCL injury that he suffered. Came back really fast also from that, so kind of impressive there. But yeah, both these teams are they're at full strength health-wise. They're playing the best football that they have played. But yeah, that's a position I think to kind of look out for, is how they utilize those two guys and who sort of gets the edge there. What else? Is there anything else to? I don't know.
I think we covered that game well. And let's hurry through. Not hurry through, but we got 8 other games.
We got some time. We've been snappy today, Joe. We've been kind of on it.
Are we snappy?
We're 50 minutes in, going into our and we only have 8 more games to talk about. That's not too bad.
Let's go down. Want to go down or up the list? You want to start with Pacifica, or you want to start with Santa Paula?
Let's start with Santa Paula. We normally go top to bottom. Let's go bottom to top.
So what we discovered, we tried to be Coach George here and pull up the, we'll give you guys a little bit of what's happening with these other teams. San Bernardino Arroyo Valley, it will host Santa Paula in D12. Dom did some good research, found out that they haven't quite thrown the ball this year.
They have
12 total completions. I
said this stat, and Joe was like, "No, that's got to be wrong."
Fake.
They have 12 total completions on 30 attempts this year, 30 pass attempts, and I'm like, okay, maybe it is wrong, maybe it hasn't been inputted, but all the games played are there, and if you look at the rushing stats, they look like season-long rushing stats. Running back Joseph Stanley has 1,100 plus yards and 15 touchdowns, the vast majority of Arroyo Valley's touchdowns on the year. So he's the guy to look out for. Sounds like they're a downhill running team, probably have, some talented offensive line players. So that'll be an interesting matchup, but not a style of play that Santa Paula is not used to, playing in the Citrus Coast League. It's kind of a commonality up there. So, but that's kind of for the fans who are going to be watching that Santa Paula game and want to know kind of in advance what they're going to be looking at. It's going to be a lot of running the football.
Stop Joe Stanley. It's going to be the Cardinals' MO. And then we've got Grace is hosting Yucca Valley at Moorpark College. Yucca is the team, speaking of, they made the D12 final 2 years ago and beat Cerritos. I think I have beat here. I thought they lost. They played Cerritos in the D12 final 2 years ago. So this is a team that, has played that sort of, obviously that Cerritos team has played Fillmore in the playoffs twice in the last 3 years. So that's, I think it's, after they played Film. Anyway, so they are the second place team in the Desert Valley League, and they are the opposite of Oro Valley. They have a 1,100-yard rusher and an 11-yard receiver in Clyde King and Aiden Pope, respectively. So that's a team that's obviously balanced. Obviously, we know Grace is a very balanced team with the Williams boys and Cooper, the receiver. So, that looks like maybe one of the tougher games to pick. Kind of a good matchup there. So if you got time, if you're in the East County and you want to go to a game on Friday night, Moorpark College would be a good spot to go and support the Lancers.
Moorpark's always been as a new to the Ventura County guy. I don't know if I could still say that a year plus in, but the above the grade, below the grade for East County, West County has been Moorpark challenges me with that because it's like it's up there.
Yeah, it's get used to it. Yeah, so the way it works, right? It's kind of like above the grade and below the grade, and then you're like behind the grade, right? Where it's like
we're doing
they do all-star games, and they don't quite. It's it's like when you go cover an all-star game, and you're like, where's Santa Paula and Fillmore? Because Santa Paula is normally in the west, and Fillmore's normally in the east, but you can make an argument about where that lays, and so it's kind of interesting that I've had that discussion 15 times in my life where it's like, do you consider Fillmore to be East County or West County or what? Long story short,
football game being played at Moorpark College.
Yeah, go check out Grace. And then Oak Park at Hemet Taqueets. I gotta get how you say that. I could spell it.
Well, we'll get back to you on that. So the question is, has Casey Webb been texting Ben McEnroe to figure out what this team out of Hemet did to take down his Heritage Christian
Casey
team?
Webb, I should text.
You should
McEnroe.
Indeed. So Oak Park's going up against a team with another 11. It's like 3 teams in a row. Another 1,100-yard rusher. Terrell Strong has 14 touchdowns on the year as well. Another one of these teams with a strong running game. Oak Park has proven they're willing to make the clutch plays that they need to stay in these playoffs, and they want a deep run. The Gator-fed Eagles want a deep run.
Yeah, that's right. And this is an absolute gateway game for Oak Park. You're coming off beating the number 1 seed in the division. You're going on the road to Hemet, which is a really long road trip. If they can somehow survive Terrell Strong, and make enough tackles to win this game, you're talking about a guaranteed home game in the semis and probably a home game in the finals if you get that far. So absolutely monster game for Oak Park, which was the last team in Division 10, nearly the 1 seed in Division 11. Instead, they knock out the Division 10 1 seed and are looking pretty strong, going forward with Grayson Ozette at quarterback and Nevada Ford at running back. And, they get a couple big plays. They've had a lot of great I talked to Casey this week, my notebook, and he was joking that they were practicing shorter and shorter because they've got 27 kids, and it's like, they know their stuff at this point. And, why practice? You get toward the end of the year, it's like if you really just need to like put in your game plan, get the kids, moving around, and, hone the skill a little bit, and then rest. And so, I think they're kind of dialed in for a potential long run. They've got it, they know what they need to do, and they're doing it. And so the Eagles, just a monster game this week that can really open up into, being that team that makes a run for us and gets into a section final.
Am I right in remembering that the rematch with Brentwood is still live? I believe Brentwood is still alive in those D10
I asked them about Brentwood. They went down to Brentwood, and I think they lost, right? And so Brentwood they would host Brentwood if Brentwood beats if Brentwood wins the other side of that bracket. They're in the other side of the bracket. Let me pull it up.
Gotcha.
So Brentwood play. They're almost like the team we're just about to talk about. They played a bunch of our local teams and had a lot of success. I think they played Wainini and won. They might have played Grace and won. They play Santa Monica, another good team that's played a lot of our teams over the years. Santa Monica at Brentwood is the other game in that bracket. The real question is, if you're the 16 and you beat the 1 seed, are you the 1 seed now? Do you kind of assume? Do you take that over? Is it like a Gillett, do you have that championship belt or something? You get that 1 seed. If you knock out the 1 seed, can you call yourself the 1 seed? That's my question. Let's move on to D7.
D7, Calabasas, after a big win in the first round of the D7 playoffs, is going to play at Saugus, another team that we've already mentioned them a couple times in this pod. What is it? They beat Buena, Oak Park, Hueneme, and Cam.
There it is.
In the regular season.
So they have, they want to join the northern area because they've had quite the success. Calabasas with the last crack at delivering a local blow to the Saugus and what would be the final blow to the Saugus season here. So and Calabasas, they little bit of momentum here, had a nice game. They had a really rough season finale to Westlake, really not doing anything in that game, and then bounced back. Dom Hardy had 3 touchdown passes. Kane Miller ran for 195 and a touch. Desmond Hardy had 2 touchdown catches. Kingston Salifi had a touchdown catch. So you get all the big names kind of get it going in that El Segundo win. And so, if you could just block for Kane Miller and tackle, you got a shot to go far in D7. So, we'll see how this looks, but they and the other thing about Calabasas is that early this season they weren't doing much defensively, and I think they've played better. They've got some takeaways the last month and really started to impact the game defensively.
Kingston Salifi moves to safety midway through the season, and Coach Harris said after the El Segundo game, like, dude, it's defense. It's the defense will determine how far they're able to go, like what they're able to do on that side of the ball.
Other half of that bracket is Apple Valley and Victor Valley. So
Apple Valley is the team that they played Bonnie. They played Bonnie last year. Wow. Yeah,
they were a really good team. They're in Oak Hills' league, but I don't think that they could play with Oak Hills last year. They weren't quite able to do it this year. So, interesting matchups if Calabasas can survive. Saugus has been a very solid team this year that loves playing our teams, and we will see if we can finally get one over on, I believe, the Centurions.
Speaking of teams that have some history with local programs recently, Agora has another big challenge this week, playing at Orange Vista. Tell us a little bit about the recent memory of Orange Vista playing our local teams, because I'm assuming you probably covered some of these games.
Yeah, Orange Vista, I think, is a relatively new school. You can see kind of in these results the rise of Orange Vista as a football program the last couple of years. They ended Oak Park's great 11-0 start of the 2019 season in the D12 quarterfinals 6 years ago. And then fast forward on the other side of the pandemic, they're beating Brady Smigel and Newbury Park in the D5 final in 2023. That was a Newbury team that had no answer for an absolutely unreal running back for Orange Vista named Sire Gaines, who I believe went to Boise State. He had something ridiculous. He had like over 200 yards rushing and like 300 yards total offense in that game. It was a phenomenal game of football, back and forth. And then last year, St. Bonaventure gained a little measure of revenge for the county, knocking them out in the D4 playoffs relatively easy and not easy, but high scoring. Just put up a lot of points in that game. Senior quarterback Khalil Abdul Aziz, who was the quarterback in both those games, is kind of their star this year. 2,500 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks. I remember him as a sophomore, as somebody who threw a bunch of picks, and he's gotten better at that. And so you look at this game, I mean, when you're talking Agur, you're talking quarterback matchup. And so Gavin Gray, who had a phenomenal first playoff game last week, can he keep it going against, a team that's had experience in higher divisions, 4 and 5, and now this is 6. And it's once again, I mean, if Agura can somehow make the ride all the way out to Paris, which I've made that for games, it is a long ride. They somehow can do, jump on them like they jumped on
Summit.
The team from Fontana last week, Summit. If they get this, another kind of gateway game where they would be playing either Moorpark or Ventura next week locally. So one of those they would have at home. One of those I think would be at Moorpark. depending on who wins the other game. And so then you make the ride this week. You were home last week. You're on the road this week with a long trip. If you can survive the long trip, you're local next week, no matter what. So, Gura surprised last week. Can they surprise again against a program that has put forward some really good teams the last couple of years?
D4. This is a bracket that Joe's pick for a team to make a deep run is. He's going to be watching this one. Oaks Christian is playing at Paraclete, who's coming off an OT win over Long Beach Wilson. Oaks Christian has defeated Paraclete their last three meetings in 2020,
all 3 meetings,
2017, and 2016. Gotcha. All 3 times they've played. So some history between those 2 programs, and the Lions have been on the winning side of it in all 3 meetings. So that will be fun to watch. Do you have any thoughts on
Paraclete had a wild first round overtime win over Long Beach Wilson that was 55-47 or something, just like some huge score fest. And I'll tell you right now, like, that ain't going to be this game this week. I mean, what part of the reason why we like the winner of the Oaks Christian St. Bonaventure game coming out of this is that you're kind of like unleashing a defense that's just going to wreak havoc in this division. We saw it last week where St. Bonaventure and Oaks Christian essentially could not score a touchdown for the first 3.5 quarters until all hell broke loose late. And I would think that St. Bonaventure would have an upper hand against Paraclete if they had won the game. Certainly Oaks Christian now, I'll say this, and I was talking to Charlie Collins earlier today, and one of the things that stood out was I spoke to Deshaun Rideau after the game, and you're talking about a 4-star running back headed to USC who hasn't played every game this year. And the mood of the star players on Oaks Christian leads me to believe that they, it's similar to what we're talking about with Ventura. This is a kid who had the game-clinching sack against St. Bonaventure in the game. I didn't even know he played defense.
I saw that photo. I saw a photo from that game of him chasing down Jackson Carper. I'm like, is this captioned wrong? Well, is that Deshaun Rideau?
Because he's also not wearing his number 4. I thought he was wearing number 1, and I was like, that's Rideau. Why is he not wearing 4? And I went up to him. I was like, what, is it playoffs? Is this a statement or something? You're wearing number 4? He goes, no, I can't find my jersey. He said lost in the wash or something. I think he'll on the road this week. I think he's got his away for.
I love it.
But it's, we're dealing with high school kids, right? I mean, it's phenomenal.
That's legendary.
So like, yeah. I mean, somebody's got. Hopefully, he'll find it because they're going to want to frame that jersey and put it up at some point. Talking about one of the best running backs in the country, one of the fastest running backs in the country, no longer going to have to face the St. Bonaventure defense. Now you're playing a team that gave up, almost 50 points last week. Like, look out. I know they got a freshman quarterback. I know they struggled offensively last week, but this could, we'll see. He had the mood. If Deshaun Rideau wants to win Division 4, Oaks Christian's going to win Division 4. It's all about how bad he wants it, because this is a kid that can go out there and put up 250 and 4, 250 and 5. Do what he did in the D2 semifinals last year against one of the best teams in the country. The performance he put on against was it Murrieta Valley, the team that Newbury beat in the final. I mean, was out of this world phenomenal. And if he could do that in D2 against them, what is he going to do in D4 these next 3 games? So now that he's free of the shackles that is St. Bonaventure's D front, don't have to face Matt Perez or Caleb or Holman or all the that awesome front 7 from St. Bonaventure, who just holding him to 85 yards was a huge win. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, I'm bullish on what Oaks Christian's going to do in this division the rest of the way. And then we saved the biggest team for last.
Yeah, Pacifica, our lone, it's been whittled down. We had a lot of undefeated teams for a while. Our lone undefeated team, still Pacifica. They're
Amat at Pacifica.
Yeah, they're hosting Amat, who lost to Oak Hills, which was Pacifica's first round matchup, 31-10 in week 1. So the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Who knows how much this Amat team has changed, how much that Oak Hills changed.
Changes.
Yeah, but got to be a friendly data point to Pacifica's chances coming into this game. Still without Elijah Royster, as far as I know, but didn't seem to stop them in that first round matchup. Just pretty exciting. I remember when we had Derry on last week, he gave us some crap for not picking Pacifica to be one of our deep playoff run teams, and kind of all of our your answer, my answer, George's answer was, well, yeah, I mean, they're playing in this D3 bracket, they're playing the best teams of any they have the toughest road of any local team, but yeah, man, they look to be firing on all cylinders right now.
I mean, once again, you're talking about the number 1 seed D3 in Bishop Amat, the 3rd place team out of the Mission League. So they're playing a Mission League team on the road.
Yep.
But let's be honest, both of these teams, if they'd have been in Division 2, would have totally fit in with the rest of the Division 2. Amat's kind of like the pride of that, like 605, 10, 210 kind of junk, that part of, the Inland Empire and I don't even know if it's inland. It's probably more San Gabriel Valley. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I will say all the right things have been coming out from the San Gabriel Valley guys, Fred Robledo, and the media members are
pumping the brakes on
tweeting stuff
the Amat.
About
yeah.
how, well, it's more like pumping the tires of Pacifica, saying, hey, this is a tough matchup for Amat, and kind of like, it's kind of coach speak, right? I mean, Bishop Amat's one of the biggest names in high school football, and so I don't think if you're comparing history and tradition and what those names mean, it's over the last 100 years or 50 years or whatever, it's no comparison. But it shows you what Pacifica has done the last 10 years under Coach Moon, that they're now in a position where they're not afraid of programs like this. Come up to Oxnard, come up to North Oxnard and see what you got.
They're going to need another heroic performance from Isaiah Phelps. They're going to need another clean performance from Taylor Lee. They're going to need, another breakout game from some of those receivers, and they're going to have to defend. It's going to be, the bottom line is, it's a big time Division III football game. It's going to be a lot of fun. We were saying, if you're in the East County, head over to Moorpark College and support the Lancers. If you're in the West County and you want to see a big time high school football game, there's no better place right now than obviously Gonzales Road and the Tritons, and check this out. So they're going to be on the road next week.
Or come join me for another game at Larrabee.
Right. Forgot that game's at Larrabee. Yeah, so there's a lot. There's 2 huge games, on the west side. So So hopefully, fill up Larrabee let's get 5,000 out there for a big time all local playoff game. Let's fill those CIF coffers.
Can't wait. All right, guys. Joe, unless you got anything else, anything to plug?
Let's get out of Dodge, man.
Right.
Yeah, let's get out of here before my audio goes again.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Till next time.
It comes down to this for Thousand Oaks in their season. It is a gift to Martin. Martin gets the first down and more. It's a nice little screen to the left-hand side. One play, and see ya later. Caldera dives into the end zone. Touchdown Oxnard. What a fitting way to end that run. He's at the 40. He's at the 20. 10.